my past now. What am I saying? Okay, what I'm going to do in these my short lives, I pray they'll get longer as we go, is to try and have someone learn to put their past behind them, because the truth of the matter is that the trauma that we go through, no matter how painful, the truth of the matter is that it's all in the past. Well, someone may be listening to me and are still like in feeling the freshness of the pain, may feel offended with what I'm saying, but the truth really, like I'm saying, is that the abuse I went through, you went through, whatever form, okay, I'm primarily talking about child sexual abuse or even abuse in adulthood. There's one that I went through when I was working as a maid not too long ago, maybe some 14-15 years ago. Yes, praise, once worked as a maid, eh? But that's a story for another day. I'm not really ready to talk about that one, but well, I've decided it's one of those things, and it had to take place probably to bring me to this place where I'm now someone who's able to talk about these things to help someone. But aside from that, for me, the experiences I have been through are things that I don't talk about, not because they are not as painful anymore, but because I decided to change the direction of where I was looking. I don't know if anyone is able to like walk forward while looking backwards. That's exactly what we choose to do when we hold on to the painful experiences we've been through. Now, what am I saying? There's this story my mentor loves to refer to when she talks about someone arising from the adverse circumstances that they've been through. It's from the Bible. Yeah, I'm a Bible believing person. I just have to put it out there so that we can relate as we go, because I'll be making a lot of reference to the Bible, to God, as we go, just in passing. So the story is in 1 Samuel, should be 13 if I'm not mistaken. It talks about how a brother sexually abused his sister. It's Amnon rapes Tamar, and Tamar, from then on, we only hear that she was very beautiful. She had a very beautiful robe she used to wear, and then Amnon raped her. And then she tore her beautiful dress, the robe, the nicely colored robes that virgins used to wear in Israel, and went the whole way crying to her brother's house, Absalom. And then it said that Absalom comforted her and told her not to put what had happened to her. That was the last that we heard of Tamar. We heard that she lived in Absalom's house, a desolate woman. But as you go on from chapter 23 of that, verse 23 actually of that same chapter 13 of 1 Samuel, we hear what Absalom did, and it's written a whole 2 years later. My mentor then says, we would expect that a whole 2 years later would hear that Tamar finally came out of her state of depression, bathed herself, and did all she could to look good again, and went out to speak to the young ladies or women who had been through the same, to tell them how she made it through. But alas, we never hear any of that. Why? Because Tamar chose to remain in the trauma that she had been through. Now, walk with me on this one. While I'm encouraging someone to like get out of that place of pain, it's not to any way like justify what happened to you. I will agree with you that one of the most painful thing probably for a woman, because I know us ladies, we attach sex with loving someone. You give yourself to someone because you love them. Now for someone who has been through what I, and probably some of you will watch this video, the sad part is that this was like taken away from us. Was supposed to be a gift to a loved one, was taken away by force by some person. We call it greed or whatever mental health issue we can attribute to men who force themselves on women. I don't know. I haven't wanted to really like get into the detail of why these people do it, because I've always said if I was to be a judge, the people who are going to suffer most were rapists. It would be just excuse me, it would be me just looking at the case, oh, it's rape, and without even a trial, this person would have life imprisonment and castration even while we're at it. Well, yeah, now I'm laughing about it, but to be entirely honest, as I was growing up, I always wished if only I could be a magistrate, just for that. But now, when I'm talking about that, you see how unresolved pain causes for you even to have ambitions which you're not really into, or because you are so hoping the person who hurt you goes through the same pain. And while we're at it again, are you noticing that when we're thinking all these things, like if only this person would suffer for what they did to me, if only they would our minds have remained stuck on the person who inflicted pain on us. In other words, we are saying we have given this man. Yeah, I know there are men who have also been through things, in childhood. I've heard of young boys being left with house helps. I have nothing against house helps. Remember, I was one before, because some will be like, hey, you're rushing to accuse those who help in the home. I was once that some years back. Right. So I know there are boys who have also been through child sexual abuse, introduced to sex by older ladies, probably had been hired to work in their homes and all that. I'm yet to know how to address that part, but then, yeah, I'm mostly talking to the ladies. Yeah, so I was saying, when we choose to hold on to what we have been through, always like reliving the event and going over and over about it, and then this is what happened in this, we are choosing to remain stuck in a place. Like Tamar did, her life stopped the moment Amnon raped her. And the word of God, like we heard, it says she's the one who tore off her robe. Understand that. It's not Amnon who tore it off. It's herself when she realized what had been done to her. In other words, had she chosen to keep her calm, right? Again, I am not saying this is to belittle what you have been through. I'm saying had Tamar chosen to just walk with her shame to her brother and let him know, like Absalom, and let him know what had happened, probably no one would have realized that she has been violated. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. But then it was her who chose to carry this and broadcast it to the world. See what my brother has done to me and all that. And she chose to put it as a label on her forehead. Raped, rejected, whatever word we can think of. Why am I referring to that? Is because I also learned that it is us, the same people who have been through so much pain, are the same ones who then carry the shame and the guilt and tell ourselves we're now worthless, all because we've been through these things. It's a narrative we write for ourselves in our heads. We're telling ourselves our lives cannot be worth anything, all because I've been sexually violated. But then, is that the truth really? Yeah, I took a pause there so that you actually think about it. I'm trying to draw someone who has been through trauma, such trauma, to actually dare to look within. All the things you have heard in your head, probably, or you feel like those things, you feel like I'm being rejected here, I'm being ignored. Is it really the truth, or is things you have told yourself over and over? You now even believe people outside of yourself are saying the same, and then it becomes a belief system. Yes, because when you believe something over and over and over, it's like a song. I'm a music lover. Have you noticed that when you listen to a song over and over, you end up even knowing the lyrics? Sometimes even when you're not playing the song, you can still hear it in your head. It's the same with the things we choose to tell ourselves because of what we've been through. Oh, praise, you can never be happy in any relationship with a man because you were raped. Remember, and the thing about belief systems, ladies and gentlemen, is that it always brings to us what we believe about ourselves. Because I can tell you in passing, I won't get into full detail, that most of the relationships that I got myself involved in, had me end up being, unseen, unheard, only thought about when someone needs something. I'm not blaming any guy. Don't get it wrong, because I know some exes may come across this video also. What I'm bringing out is that because I had so much low self-esteem, my expectations were also very lowered, and it became an energy. I'll probably making sense. It became an energy that probably drew the kind of men that I used to draw to myself. And then instead of me stopping to look at myself, like, why am I drawn to guys who won't commit, or guys who just like me 1 minute, the next they are just repelled by me? I sort of like just felt, oh no, guys are just like that, they're just out to use you and what you know, because I have a blueprint, something stamped in my subconscious that says men are out to use you. Why? Because the first sexual encounter I had was one man gratifying their selfish pleasures on me. So you see what that does. When we don't stop to heal, we carry this trauma, and it becomes an energy that's around us. Even the walls that we bring up around ourselves, they're just something we are saying, I need to protect myself. You see, as I've been walking my journey of healing, I've learned that trauma causes for us to be in a state of, fight, flight, fright, and it becomes your permanent position. You're like bracing yourself for the next attack. Your mind is telling you you are in danger. While it's normal for the moment you are going through something that makes you afraid, or something that causes you to feel unsafe, when it becomes a lifetime thing, it takes its toll on you, because we are not meant to maintain a state of having adrenaline overdrive in our system. I hope I'm making sense. We are not created to always be afraid, or to always be suspicious, or to always feel, unsafe. I'm sure you can see in my posture here, someone who is just waiting to defend themselves. But then with trauma that's unresolved, this is the state that we're in for a very long time. We remain in a stance that says, I'm ready to fight, which is why even when we relate, we're always looking for offense. Somehow we think the labels we put on ourselves, everyone else is reading them. And so how we relate with others is always with reference with what we've been through. You see? So why heal is to set yourself free from all of this cage. I call it self-imposed because we are saying the ideas that we now carry are not from what happened to us. It's what we think we have now become because of what we've been through. I hope I'm making sense to someone here, because I tend to talk a lot. I am saying, when we refuse to heal, we have already labeled ourselves unworthy. We've already told ourselves we can never be accepted because of what we have been through. We have the shame. And really, the person who's supposed to be carrying the shame is the person who violated you is the one who's supposed to be ashamed of what they did. But lo and behold, it's me again, the one who has been violated, who feels ashamed for being violated. I know the sense of honor for the woman is stolen in this scenario. But we are saying, are we going to remain in that place where we are saying, because my honor was violated, because my personal space was invaded without my permission, I'm going to choose to hold on to this pain. I'm going to cause for it to identify with who I am. Is that what we are saying? After going through sexual trauma, whatever other trauma. I remember last week a certain lady just got in touch. She says, no, I haven't been through sexual abuse, but I have this and that. I won't get into detail. But we are saying, when we trace back, like I said last week, a lot of the anxieties and the depressions we fight, they are coming from a place of an adverse circumstance, probably in our younger ages, in our childhood, when we were younger. These are things we went through and we did not know how to address because we just didn't know any better. Imagine, just like me, a 7-year-old, should be, playing house. I don't know if you guys did that in your childhoods. We call it Maumbo in Shona. Yeah, I'm Shona again, by the way. Would play house, you're cooking mud in used up lotion bottles, the camphor cream bottles or the huge Vaseline bottles, the empty ones. We're putting mud in there and you're pretending into them with the mother and you're cooking and all that. It's all innocence. You're playing country game. I don't know if you guys also play that. That's all you know to do. And then this adult who's now in their adolescence, who now knows what it is to be horny. I hope you get used to me where I just find these words which are like unconventional, just not vulgar. Don't worry about that. But then yeah, I get naughty vocabulary here and there. This guy who knew what it felt to feel hot and bothered, they just decided they needed to balance out their testosterone levels on me. Had it been me at this age, probably I would have fought, probably I would have castrated them myself. But then yeah, I was only 7. Okay, I didn't know better how to address that trauma. And I carried it for like 13 years, because I remember that next time I talked about it, this thing happened in 1995. I mentioned it in passing, imagine, in 2008. And in those years, that was like 13 years, if I'm not mistaken. I just turned in from the bubbly, praise, mercy people knew. I used to be a happy child. I used to, achieve in school. I used to get 2 portions for acting. Yeah, those school dramas on prize giving day. I would get the part for the narrator. I would get the part for the main actress. And I would remember line for line. Well, that didn't go away. Even the academic achievements didn't go away. But then the person who was now behind those achievements had changed. She had become so angry. She had become so, you know, she felt so worthless that she felt that achieving in school and being able to recite line for line in the school plays was what would prove her worth. Anyone who does a lot to want to prove themselves, I hope I can relate with someone. You know, I had already been good at these things, but after abuse, I felt I had to do like more. Like get 100% here, as we used to do 4 subjects. The way I feel so sorry for our this new generation here that has to do 9 or 10 in primary school. As we only did 4, I would make sure I got 100% for all of them. And if I got maybe 2% less in one subject, the depression that I would go through, I would feel like I haven't done so well. I remember one term a newcomer came to school, and I, as usual, I'd become sort of like arrogant to know that position 1 was always mine. It belonged. I'd become permanent secretary for the first position, eh? And then this newcomer comes, I didn't even put it to mind. And guess what? At the end of that term, she was position 1, and I was on the 2nd. Do you know, I burst into tears. It was even consultation day, you know. Other mothers were busy ululating, congratulating me, and there I was crying, and people were shocked, like, she's been position 2. Why is she like crying like this? But it's because for me, going from position 1 to being the 2nd, it felt like I'm being reminded of the worthlessness I felt inside. Imagine. And I'm only around grade 5 thereabouts. Our innocence, our childhood is taken away when we go through sexual trauma. And the worst part is that because we are so ashamed, we can never trust our elders to even talk about it. We can't even trust to know even the outcome. For myself, I'm glad I never actually told my caregivers at that time, because now I'm imagining, what if the worst had happened, like a cover up maybe? That would mean that I would have felt even betrayed by those I would have thought would have protected me. I believe that helped me escape some of worst scenarios that could have taken place for me. Not that I'm encouraging anyone to not speak out. Yeah, get that right again. Yeah, I'm just sharing my story for now. Hey. But then the best thing for someone who's been through sexual abuse, whether child or adult, is to just speak out, because we need immediate medical attention. We need immediate police intervention, right? Yeah, I know. I was made aware that at Women Affairs in our country, in Zimbabwe, that's what they offer. And PEP, they call it post-exposure prophylaxis to prevent HIV. They are just assuming just because you've been exposed without your consent, you could be in danger of getting infected. But then for me, I never did all that. And I also discovered, after I decided to pursue healing, I discovered in our in our family there were previous such occurrences that did take place, and it was never really addressed, which means for me I would have been further broken, feeling unprotected. Like the people I would have told, thinking maybe I was going to get help, what if they would have decided to just sweep it under the rug? Like in the story in the Bible, you'll see that David was told, he's the father to Tamar, is told, Amnon, this is what he has done. The word of God says he did nothing. That's what caused for Absalom to become angry. You'll see that actually what Amnon did, it actually ended up costing even Absalom, because Absalom, because he was bitter against Amnon, he got him killed. Eventually we see how he rebelled against his father. I want to believe it's because he felt bitter, like what kind of a father will hear of his daughter's violation and chooses to remain silent? So you see now the ripple effect of someone's selfish act. But now we are coming back to you who has been violated. We are saying, in spite of what you have been through, it is you who will decide whether you are going to remain helpless. You're going, you know, when you remain a victim, when you remain carrying that load as a victim, you are all sad, you're wearing black. Yeah, in essence, you're wearing black, because black is the color that says, call me Mara. Hey, like Naomi, another story in the Bible that I like. She says, don't call me Naomi, which meant pleasant. She's saying, call me Mara, as in bitter, because I've lost my husband, I've lost my sons, I've this. The same way Naomi did in there. When you choose to remain carrying the load of what happened to you, you are telling people, call me Mara, because a selfish man did what they did. I choose to carry his shame, I choose to carry his guilt, and I choose to remain stuck in that place of abuse. That's essentially what we are saying. So when you choose to heal, really, you are not betraying yourself. It's actually a gift you're giving yourself, for you are saying, I'm choosing to rise up in spite of what I went through. I'm choosing to speak up. I'm choosing to walk the path of healing. And that's not to say you're saying what you went through is a small thing. It's a big thing. Like I mentioned earlier on, for a woman, giving yourself up sexually is no small feat. It's something, you know, after feeling, yeah, us ladies and feelings, you feel so much in love, you think, oh no, he's the one to, we call it deflowering, but that choice was taken away from you. When you choose to heal, you are choosing to move forward in spite of what honor was stolen from you. You are choosing to give that back to yourself. Yes, that's how I'll put it. When you choose to heal, you're saying, I will arise, I will become a person of honor again. I'll become a person of courage for someone else. Yes, I'll become that courage for someone else. That's what you're saying when you choose to heal. So I think for today I'll end here, because yeah, I'm noticing, yeah, I talked quite a lot more than I usually do. Well, but then this is the second video here. I noticed if I start to get into the how you heal, what, it becomes a long thing. I tend to want to summarize things, you know, being a through timer and all. I choose to just want to rush through things. But yeah, well, I'll give a hint of what we'll talk about next. So this t-shirt I'm wearing here, it's written PLDA, stands for Project Life Design. One way I got to improve on the healing, of course I had started years before, we'll get into that as we go, is something called self-discovery. Who are you outside of what happened to you? Yeah, this is just a hint. I thought I was going to talk about that a lot today, but then yeah, I'm also noticing I never really talked about where I started this journey of healing. Of course, it's not a particular date, but it's probably an unfolding of events that I'll be sharing with you guys on here. So the hint, for starters, one of the ways to heal is self-discovery. And PLD, Project Life Design, is a mentorship company, a company that's high on mentoring people to discover who they are and to fulfill the fullest of their potential in terms of purpose. right? Which is what has brought me here on this screen. I never thought I would actually create Facebook Lives and all that. But thank God to Project Life Design. Sounds like, yeah. So for today, we are done. We will meet again the next time I decide to create a live again. And I hope it's soon. I'm working on being consistent. So far it's working. So thank you so much for whoever is going to be able to watch this. I hope it will be helpful to somebody. So enjoy your Workers' Day holiday.